That is some good chicken.
Hey, dude,
Huh?
we're just supposed to be doing a video review today?
Oh crap, I forgot. Give me a minute. Hello, I'm Speculative Dude, and welcome to a variation on my movies that should have known better. This is my first ever fans should have known better. Now, we all have movies that we can't stand, and whether they're spin-offs of perhaps favorite franchises, maybe complete rip-offs, or just bad interpretations or poorly done. We also have movies that we enjoy, maybe as a guilty pleasure, maybe because despite the fact that, yeah, it kind of sucks, we at least found it somewhat entertaining. Or in some cases, for myself, I didn't think a movie was nearly as bad as some of the garbage it gets. Now today we're actually going to be looking at the live-action Street Fighter movie starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia, and Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Both of these movies get a massive amount of hate. Some of it's deserved, some of it may not be so deserved. But let's look at both and have a little bit of fun. Now when it came to Street Fighter, I have to admit, as a young man growing up, I was a massive fan of the video games. It was the first video game I ever saw that portrayed more than just one style of martial arts. Before that, most fighting games were very generic. This one showed a variety of characters. Everyone looked and fought unique. So, of course, when I heard they were going to do a Street Fighter movie, I thought, hey, this is going to be awesome. Of course, this was before video game movies became somewhat mainstream, and video game movies sucking also became mainstream. Now, my problem with this isn't necessarily, once again, the movie. Oh, it's terrible. But the problem is where people focus the hate. People tend to focus the hate squarely on Jean-Claude Van Damme. They completely forget that the story was crap. The writing was garbage. The casting of the other characters was questionable, to say the least. I mean, for crying out loud. In the entire series, I can't tell you if any one of the characters had any martial arts training aside from Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now, people tend to hate on him being Guile, namely because, well, he's not even an American playing an American. Okay, now while that is fair, you also look at the other actors that are around Hollywood and think, okay, they wanted a big-name actor for their lead. There wasn't anyone else who had the physicality and the talent, the martial arts talent, to play Guile. The only one I can think that even comes close would probably be Kurt Russell in Soldier. And he has no martial arts training, as far as I know, anyway. He would have fit the role physically, but wouldn't have been able to do any of the stunts that Van Damme did. Now, once again, there are so many holes in this movie that it's just kind of ridiculous where people put the hate. This movie sucks. Jean-Claude Van Damme sucks. Okay. Yeah, no, first of all, let me say, I will agree, this is not his finest movie by any means. He's not a particularly great actor. He is a good martial artist, and he's a good martial arts actor. But, you know, he's not the reason this movie sucked. He's one of many reasons this movie sucked. I mean, you look down the cast of characters, and there were a lot of people, rather famous actors in here. Actors and actresses. Ming-Na Wen, probably best known for her role in the Joy Luck Club, was Chun-Li. Damien Chapo was Ken. Raul Julia, I mean, for crying out loud. If they nailed one person with the role, Raul Julia pulled off the early Bison better than anyone. I mean, this was before the animated series came in and made him more, just plain evil. You know, he was a character who believed himself to be, that the world under his control would be better. You know, who better to rule the world than him? He wasn't just evil for the sake of being evil, which is how a lot of villains are played. He honestly had a goal and a belief. Now, granted, it was portrayed a little cheesy, but as far as casting roles go, he was the one who knocked it out of the park. See, trying to think of some other ones. Kylie Minogue was in here. Now, while she's probably better known as a singer than anything else, but she's also acted a lot, and she was Cammy. But they wanted to put as many big names in this movie as they could, and honestly, it just kind of ends up overloading. Now, while they do try and give a fair amount of time to all the characters, it really can't detract from the fact that you're trying to squeeze too many into one script. Joss Whedon said when he was casting the Avengers, a movie that focuses around one villain, and let's count them: Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Iron Man, Thor. 6 characters, hero characters. He had a hard time with the script that would encompass all of them. Now, that being said, do you know how many characters there are in Street Fighter? 16. And they actually left one of the characters out of the movie. Now, granted, some of the characters weren't even remotely close. Specifically, Dhalsim and T-Hawk. I was rather disappointed with how both of them were portrayed. Dhalsim, maybe I could kind of see, but he's always been an Indian mystic, not a scientist. He was never a scientist in the games, ever. And I know they wanted to give him a role, but that one was stretching it pretty thin. T-Hawk is supposed to be a mountain of a man. Here he's smaller than Van Damme is. Now, granted, I know it would have been hard to find someone physically the size of T-Hawk, because I believe he's supposed to be something like 7'5" and weigh 350 plus pounds. Okay, that's cool. You could have still found a really big guy to play him. I don't think that would have been too difficult. But I'm not here to harp on the casting choices. I'm just saying that there are so many things in this movie, trying to pack in so many characters that, yeah, it fell apart. It shouldn't even be surprising. But why do fans hate so much specifically on Van Damme? He sucked. That's why this movie sucked. I was like, no, pretty much the whole thing sucked. I will say that the set pieces for the movie were pretty good, given the mid-90s. I believe this was done in 94 or 95. Forgive me if I'm getting the year wrong. But, those were, and also a couple of the characters' roles were reversed. DJ was a villain and Balrog was a good guy. Not really sure why that was. Balrog's always been a villain, and DJ's never been a villain character. But like I said, that just comes down to writing. The writing was lousy. The set pieces were wonderful, but the overall, the whole story just was extremely convoluted. There are plot holes like nobody's business. I mean, they tried to throw in comedy where it was really unnecessary. Granted, I do love Zangief's line, "Quick, change the channel!" as the bomb car is rolling down as they see the monitor as the truck with the bomb is rolling down the hill. So that, I will admit, is kind of funny because everybody just looks at him like he's a complete idiot, which he pretty much is. But there's so many things in this movie to hate on. Why do fans focus on just that one thing? Okay, now that I've got that one out of the way, we're going to look at the second one. The third in the Fast and the Furious series, Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Now, there's 2 big plots that people tend to argue and claim why they don't like this movie. And honestly, neither one of them makes sense. One of them is purely from a fan standpoint, that this, there's no way this would have made people happy. Specifically, I've seen a lot of people say, okay, they shouldn't have called this Fast and the Furious, they should have just, if they wanted to call it Tokyo Drift, they should have just done that. The problem is, if they had done that, the same exact group of people would turn around and say, oh, they're just doing a Fast and the Furious movie. And they would have put their hate on that. It's like, so either with or without the name, haters gonna hate. So that one I just completely dismiss. It's like that one's just a stupid complaint. You don't like the title. People. The title was Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift because it was intended to be in the Tokyo Drift series, or the Fast and the Furious series. Excuse me. This was just one aspect. It was a new aspect. In fact, if you look at the first 3 movies, there is actually a progression of types of racing, so to speak. In the first one, while there are cars driven on streets, etc., on the highway, the focus really is more on the car. Racing is drag racing. In the second movie, it's more point-to-point racing. It's not a drag race anymore. The racing is done in different locations, through streets, etc. Then you get Tokyo Drift. It's drifting now. It's a different kind of race. So there actually is a progression on the series. So for people to sit here and go, oh no, they shouldn't have called this a Fast and the Furious movie, that argument just doesn't hold water. The other one, the one that I think bugs me the most, though, is people saying it wasn't a Fast and the Furious movie because Paul Walker wasn't in it. These are the people who are under the delusion that Paul Walker is actually a good actor. Now, don't misunderstand me. I actually like his role as Brian O'Connor in these movies. He plays this role very well. Outside of this role, his acting sucks. It's like, I'm sorry, but, people sit here and go, oh, Paul Walker wasn't in it. And for those people, I have this response. Paul Walker was offered the role, and he turned it down. They had to rewrite the script because he didn't want to be in it. They had to write in a completely new character and completely new setting and scenario. Well, they asked him if he wanted to do another Fast and the Furious movie, and he said no. What did he go on to do? Failure movies after failure movies until they offered him Fast and the Furious, the 4th in the series, and he jumped at the chance because he realized, hey, this is my bread and butter. People who hate this movie because their actors that they seem to like are not in it. That's just stupid. If this movie were a bad movie because they didn't have those actors in it, that might change. But this is actually a decent movie. It has the similar theme of friends and family that runs through the entire series, though I think, in my opinion, was backed off a little bit in the 4th movie. It wasn't, it was there, but not done quite as heavy-handed. But, aside from that, and obviously you have Vin Diesel's cameo at the end, which I actually thought was really kind of clever. I was glad they threw that in there. I was glad he was considering he hadn't really at that time didn't have much interest in returning to Fast and Furious until the 4th movie. I was glad that he came back for that little bit. But putting that aside, why do people hate on this movie so badly? It's definitely not any worse than the first movie by any means. It was far more of it was done practically than the second movie. One of the biggest complaints about the second movie, and I can agree with that, is that there were too many special effects. And yeah, there really were. Now, don't get me wrong, John Singletary I thought did actually do a good job. But putting that aside, and I did like that they brought Tyrese Gibson's character back in the 4th movie. But initially, he really was just a replacement for Dom. He really wasn't. It wasn't the same. He was a different kind of character. He was a replacement. This movie they had to replace everybody, especially starting with the main character. As I said, they offered Paul Walker the role, and he turned it down. Not because he thought the script was bad, not because, hey, this is, a bad idea. No, he did what Vin Diesel did when he didn't want to do Too Fast, Too Furious. Vin Diesel said, hey, I want to do other acting jobs. That's exactly what Paul Walker did. Neither one of them had the success that they did in Fast and the Furious, and both of them realized, hey, I really should get back in that. And they did, and fans have loved the fourth and the fifth movie, despite far less emphasis on racing, to my great disappointment. I'll put those aside for now. Oh, what other movies, can we talk about that have these complaints that don't really make any sense? The fan hate against them doesn't make any sense. Now I know there are plenty of other movies out there. Actually, I'd like my audience to tell me, what movies do you know that get a lot of hate that really isn't justified? Well, Street Fighter, it's a terrible movie. It's a lousy movie. My problem is why people hate on it. Okay, you focus all your hate on Jean-Claude Van Damme when the rest of the movie sucks. Tokyo Drift, people hate the name. I was like, okay. Listen, that doesn't work, because if they just called it Tokyo Drift, you'd be saying, oh, they're just ripping off Fast and the Furious. Or because Paul Walker wasn't in it. Paul Walker may be the main character, but he's definitely not a special character. Honestly, I think he does this role well, once again, but I think there's a lot of actors who could have done this role just as well. And that people focus so much hate on the fact that he wasn't in it is just, once again, just plain stupid. So, you know what? These are my opinions. You can take what you want from both of them, both movies. Love them or hate them. For me, Street Fighter is kind of a guilty pleasure. I'm a huge fan of the video game. I'm a huge fan of martial arts. And, so that's why I enjoy the movie. I suspend my annoyance for the stupidity of the movie because of that. And then Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift, I actually enjoy as a movie. Okay, fine, you want to put it aside and say it's not part of the main franchise. Okay, fine, dude, there you go. You can do that if you want. Just call it Tokyo Drift, whatever. I actually enjoyed it. The cars were good. The acting was actually decent, I thought. Definitely no worse than the other movies. The settings were wonderful. And the racing was really good. So, we all have our reasons why we hate certain movies. As I said, to my audience out there, tell me what movies either you hate and you'd like to see me review, or movies that you think get a lot of hate or unnecessary hate. So, until next time, I'm Speculative Dude, out.